Does enclomiphene make you stronger? Because I know you're putting in the hours, you're showing up at the gym, you're tracking your calories, you're sleeping the best you can. But what if I told you none of that matters as much as you think it does if your hormonal health isn't right? I mean, hitting a ceiling when it comes to your program, it might have more to do with your testosterone. And this is a really important question because if you're plateaued, what we're going to cover in this video is how enclomiphene can actually help you build more muscle, lean out, and hold on to muscle so that you maintain the gains in the gym even when you have your off days. It's kind of interesting because if you think of the strength that testosterone makes, testosterone allows us to hold on to muscle. But as we age, as we have psychological stress and stressors in the body, men start having a decline in their testosterone peak. And sometimes it happens as early as like in the late teens. It's crazy. And what we're noticing today is that some men, their testosterone levels are actually suboptimal in their early 20s and 30s. In one study I found that was interesting is they took men, they wanted them to go, and they all had low testosterone, and they wanted them to go and find out if being in the woods with other men, cutting down trees and working through physical labor would actually increase their testosterone. And what they found is after 2 weeks of these men sleeping under the stars, doing physical labor, working with their hands, yep, you guessed it, their testosterone levels either doubled or tripled after 2 weeks. So let's go camping. Maybe that will help. But the real thing is, enclomiphene can help you build muscle based on the way that it helps your testosterone perform. And so if you think about men's testosterone over the last 30 years, every year it declines. But our goal is to get you your total testosterone to about 700 nanograms per deciliter to 900, maybe even up to 1,000. But one thing that impacts it more than anything is cortisol. And so cortisol, that is a stress hormone that can hit your body composition like nothing else, is particularly the visceral fat. So if you've got that lower belly fat, you know you're having troubles with cortisol. And the other thing that happens is you have this poor aromatization. So testosterone is getting converted into estrogen. So before you get on enclomiphene, make sure that you're getting your labs ran. Go to agelessfuture.com. Reach out to my team. They'll get the right tests ran for you and understand exactly if enclomiphene is right for you. But if your estrogen levels are high and you're not on testosterone, then we already want to start working on those detoxification pathways. Because, dudes, that's one of the reasons why our testosterone ends up being low is because we're exposed to a lot of stress, a lot of environmental chemicals, infections, and that impacts our central nervous system. It impacts your motor neuronal function, and you just don't feel like going to the gym as much. Or you go to the gym and you just feel like, man, I'm not making gains, and so it's hard to stay motivated. So think about your body as this operating system. And if you can upgrade your operating system, that's where you can really get the most benefit out of some of these performance enhancing therapies. And I look at peak performance, and if I go back and I say, okay, when was I performing my best? Now there's certain areas of my life where I could run faster, I could jump a little bit higher. And that was in my late teens, early 20s. But now that I'm pushing 50, I'm always working on, let me see if I can't beat my previous record. And so VO2 max, I've been able to run farther for faster. Right now I'm working on my sprint. So I'm trying to get my previous time of a 4.5 40-yard dash. And I'm trying to accomplish that. So in 2 months from now, I'll report back and let you guys know how I did. Might be embarrassing, but I think I've definitely increased my speed. And so the goal with Ageless Future is we want your peak performance, whatever time of life that was for you, we want to see if we can match that. And then every decade gets you a little bit healthier. And that's where some of these novel agents come in. So enclomiphene is the selective estrogen receptor modulator. And what we see in the studies, in fact, one of the studies, I'll provide you the link in the show notes, but they found that men using 25 milligrams per day of enclomiphene raises the mean testosterone, so that the average went up to 604 nanograms per deciliter. These are men who they were over 40 and they had testosterone levels that were lower than 300. And so this has a massive consequence on your muscle and strength. And for those of you who are looking to raise testosterone, one of the things that happens is testosterone, it preserves your natural circadian rhythm. So if you're not getting good sleep, that's going to interfere with your body's ability to build testosterone. And the same with if you're not working your muscles out, if you're not getting out in nature, taking what the Japanese call a forest bath, you're going to have problems. And so what enclomiphene does is it raises your luteinizing hormone and follicular stimulating hormone, but it's not suppressing your body's own production of testosterone, because if you're taking exogenous testosterone, you're going to turn off the signaling. But by using enclomiphene, you're not just raising your testosterone, but you're upregulating that entire anabolic signaling cascade. If you have adequate testosterone levels, what you'll see is your muscle satellite cells and their sensitivity to growth signals, it will help improve the nitrogen retention, it will help balance your hormones, and then it will accelerate recovery by reducing muscle damage markers and supporting repair. We found that it helps with that neuromuscular junction, that connection between your nerves and your muscles, so that when you do those more high intensity workouts, or if you're a power lifter and you're doing like power cleans or squats, instead of being just completely exhausted after one of those workouts, from that neuromuscular adaptation, you'll notice that with enclomiphene, you'll be able to recover faster. You'll be able to get back into the gym, because what you're doing is you're creating this nice, what's called an HPG axis, your hypothalamic pituitary gonadal axis. And that's how you can actually help improve your testosterone throughout your training cycle. So yes, it does help you produce strength. But if you don't have the right environment, that might not give you the benefits you're looking for. And so something that you want to look at is testosterone is only one of the major pieces of strength optimization. One of the things I've talked about a lot on this channel is the fact that sleep is critical. And so a peptide called epitalin that can reset the circadian rhythms. Also, as you get out in the sunlight as it's rising, do that in the morning, and you'll notice that you'll sleep better at night. And you're turning on these melopsin receptors in the back of your brain so that you get better signaling and better circadian rhythms. Nutrition, that is key, because if you want to build muscle, there's two ways you got to activate protein synthesis. One is by lifting heavy things, then your body adapts to that response. The second way is eating proteins. So look at your body weight, and you want to be averaging about 1 gram of protein per pound of ideal body weight. And so if you're not getting the nutrients, if you're not getting sleep, if you're not regulating your stress, if you're not getting outside, if you're not working with your hands and actually spending time with other men, you're leaving a lot on the table. And so when it comes to optimizing your health and getting you back to that peak performance, whatever your goals are, the very first place to start is look at your baseline strength metrics. And I have a tool that's called Fitness 50 at age 100. And this is a tool I created for one of my mentors, Dan Sullivan. He's the founder of Strategic Coach. He's got a goal to live to be 156. And so he asked me, he said, Regan, what does a 100-year-old want to be doing that a fit 50-year-old can do? And so I created 11 benchmarks, and it puts you into categories of fit, fitter, and fittest. So if you're over 50, make sure you grab my Fitness 50 at age 100 benchmarks. Now, if you're under 50, you may want to look at my Fit 25 at age 50. So then these are more of the heavier lifting, and I think you'll like those. But the second thing you want to do is get that baseline strength, but then run the right labs. And I can't tell you how many people just play guessing games. They think their testosterone's low, and that's not even the problem. Just because your libido's low and you're not as motivated doesn't always mean that you have low testosterone. What you want to look at, though, is check your testosterone, your free testosterone, your SHBG, your estradiol, your LH, your FSH, your cortisol, your IGF-1. Look at your thyroid function, do a complete metabolic makeover, because I can tell you, in just talking to a client yesterday, and he said, I can't believe how much better I feel since I ran the labs and I understood what was going on. He'd been kind of experimenting with peptides for over 2 years. He'd spent a small fortune just playing guessing games with research use only peptides. Within 2 months of his program, once we ran the right labs, had him on 503A compounding pharmaceuticals. These peptides are made by a pharmacist. He's now seeing massive gains in the gym, and he says he's on track to being back to his peak performance, and he's about 45 right now. So biggest thing we want to do is upgrade your operating system. Enclomiphene is one of the many things that you can do to build muscle and build strength. And that, in my opinion, is one of the most important things you can do. The older we get, the harder it is to maintain muscle. And if you have pain, make sure you go to agelessfuture.com. Get rid of pain. We have a no pain policy. And so what we can do is get you scheduled with one of our regenerative medicine specialists and find out exactly what is necessary to get rid of pain for good. I'm Regan Archibald. Appreciate you being on this channel. If you like this video, make sure you leave a comment below and then subscribe. It helps more people learn about these clinical breakthroughs, and I'll see you soon.